After an assassination attempt on his life fails, Michael Corleone leaves behind his friends and family on a journey to find out who betrayed him. His thoughts are filled with the journey of his father, Vito Corleone, and how fleeing for his life led him to America and becoming the Godfather. Is Michael's life his own? Or is his fate tied to the sins and plans of his father? When an attack comes from within your own family, who can you trust, and what must be done?
Welcome to Movie Friends. My name is Seth.
And I'm Michelle.
Today we're talking about The Godfather Part 2 from 1974. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Written by Mario Puzo and Francis Ford Coppola. Cinematography by Gordon Willis. Composed by Nino Rota. Edited by Barry Malkin, Peter Zinner, and Richard Marx. Starring Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, John Cazale, Robert Duvall, Diane Keaton, Lee Strasberg, Michael V. Gazzo, Talia Shire, Bruno Kirby, and G.D. Spradlin. Michelle, how are you?
I'm good, Seth. How are you?
I'm good. We're back.
We're back!
Back to the beginning.
Truly back to the beginning. How cool is this, right? To continue on? I don't know. I love it. It's really special to me.
It was such a weird feeling going back into this very specific world of these characters and the creators behind it and thinking a year has passed. And I wonder if anyone who's been listening from the beginning, listening to this episode will be like, oh, right, that's been a year of my life now.
Right. Or I wonder if they'll actually follow up and make it to another season and actually do the sequel.
Well, hey, that too.
We did it. So booyah.
We did.
Yeah.
And hey, unlike last year, we have emails.
Okay.
We've got 3 emails. And so I'm going to kind of, I know. I'm going to blow through them. Ready?
Okay. Yeah. Blow through.
One of them's real short. So the first one says, the live show was awesome. So I thought we were watching Shrek 2 and then the live podcast. Laughing emojis. The scene with all the different Michael J. Foxes is so wild. For the time, the makeup really works for me. The biker talk might be my favorite banter yet. And this person is referring, of course, to our Back to the Future 2 episode, where we went off on a tangent about biker gangs.
A jacket club.
And jacket gangs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a funny one.
Mm-hmm.
The pizza scene is so great. I think this is my favorite of the trilogy because it's the most fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
P.S. Elizabeth Shue is one of my biggest childhood / teenage crushes. P.P.S. Please do Adventures in Babysitting. P.P.P.S. I can't remember if I did P's or S's. Laughing face emoji. And then P.P.P.P.S. I need the story of Seth on a motorcycle. I never knew this. From Ben.
Ben! When I heard those PPS's, PSS's, I can't even believe I just went over that of you going on a motorcycle. And never got the story.
I needed a ride to work, and somebody who was there had a motorcycle, and so I rode on the back of the motorcycle.
I honestly picture you sitting sideways and just...
with a scarf on that's flying in the wind?
Yeah, that's how I'm picturing you on the back, or riding the motorcycle.
No, just imagine me scared.
Yeah.
Hugging someone.
Did you hug around the waist? You have to do that, I guess, right? That's
you gotta hold on, of course.
Yeah, what an intimate experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wow. Motorcycle riding is for the intimate. It's
intimacy. Very intimate with the road, the other cars around you, the weather,
the wind.
Yep. Yeah, being in a car, you're in your own little world, but on the motorcycle, you are one with nature. And then you go to states where there's no helmet law. Forget about it. You're crazy if you're doing that.
That's nuts.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got another email, and this one's pretty quick. The subject line is Speak and Spell. It says, I never had a Speak and Spell myself, but I'm pretty sure they use that in E.T. as part of the machine they built to phone home. And that's true. They did. And that email was from Anthony.
Anthony who? Husband?
Your husband. Yeah.
Hey, husband. Well, I don't know. Like, he never writes
Yeah.
emails.
So I guess he listened to that episode. Thanks for listening, Anthony, and
Thanks, husband.
bringing
Wow.
us up to speed. And yeah, I did remember that as soon as he sent that in. I was like, oh, the ET episode.
Right.
Remember
right,
the
right.
ET episode? That was a good episode.
Yeah. I love ET so much.
Last email says, "Hi, movie friends. First, I want to wish you both a happy new year. And I want to congratulate you on your first successful live show. It was so fun to listen to, so I imagine it was a blast to see in person. Indeed, it was." That was me saying that, not the email.
Oh, it's like, is this person answering for the people? Okay, cool.
No, I'm answering for the people.
For the people. It was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
During his appearance on the Cinema Shit Show podcast, Seth revealed that you both have figured out who is the popcorn and who is the soda in the logo, but wouldn't reveal the answer. Seth wouldn't divulge the answer to me privately when I messaged him about it. He merely suggested you two may get tattoos to show who is who. The anticipation for the reveal of this secret movie friends lore is building and building for me, your friend Sean.
Well, first off, thank you so much, Sean Shank, for sending an email. I've missed hearing you come through. Second
Yes, thank you.
point, I didn't know we were going to get tattoos. And third point, I am down. Let's get these tattoos and then we'll reveal who's who.
There you go. All right. Yeah.
Let's get that. We'd have to get who each
Who
other
we are.
is.
Yeah. I'm not getting you.
No. Ugh,
Yeah.
God, no.
You don't
Okay.
want a Seth tattoo.
No, I don't. You don't want a Michelle tattoo
I would get one. Actually, that'd be pretty funny.
of my face? No.
No. Like a Michelle themed. If I got a Michelle themed tattoo, it would definitely be a word. Like, I think it would just maybe be an apple that says perhapples or something like that.
Oh, wow. Well, I've been asking you and Krista to get matching lemon tattoos, and like no one's biting at that bit. And maybe I'm just
I'll do
alone
it.
on that.
Hey, if anyone knows me,
Anybody.
I will get any tattoo
Yeah.
at any time.
But no, I'm down to get a movie friends tattoo. I think I actually really love that idea. So let's do it.
Next live show, we'll do it. We'll get a tattoo live.
I mean, that might be a little, maybe like before or after.
Sure.
Okay. I like how we're not going to tell the people who. Let's just keep it going.
Oh, yeah. No, they don't need to know.
No, they don't need to know.
Send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Who do you think we are? Am I the popcorn? Am I the soda? What's Michelle? Who gives off the soda vibes? Who gives off the
corny
vibes?
vibes?
Let us know. Well.
Wow.
So before Michelle watches a movie for the first time, she records her pre-watch thoughts. So let's go to that real quick.
Hey, Godfather Part 2. This is neat. Our first ever episode was on The Godfather, and in that episode we said, hey, maybe one day we'll do a month on sequels. Hey, maybe one day that month will include Godfather Part 2, and here we are a year later, so that's pretty flippin' cool. So as far as predictions go, I think we're going to see how Michael evolves into the Don. We already saw that he became the Godfather, but this one I think will focus primarily on how he handles that role. And then I'm curious to see how Kay does with him in this role. I mean, he lies to her at the end of the first one, and I don't think she's one to stay silent. Now, in the first one, we spoke about how the women were in the background of the movie, and we wish they spoke up more, but I think Kay as a character is one who's going to interject, and I'm curious to see how that goes.
So yes, 1 year, whole year later. And I think that you were right about how Michael handles his role and also Kay. There's still not a lot of women talking in this movie.
No.
Yeah.
But the conversation they had, I was kind of on point of what I felt would happen.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You and I spoke kind of before this episode, and we said it's probably a good time to re-up what we do on this show. And what we do on this show is we record a conversation between Michelle and myself about the movie. We are not checking off boxes of behind the scene facts or Oscar winning stuff or kind of any of that. Some of that stuff might be included, but for the most part, it's just you and me and our impressions of the film.
Yeah.
And we thought it'd be a good idea to say that because The Godfather 2 is a massive movie. There is a lot of information and details about it. So if we don't mention the one thing that you love about it, sorry, start your own podcast or send us an email. Let us know what you think,
Yeah, fill in the
right?
gaps for us. Send us an email with your
Absolutely.
facts.
Absolutely. We would love to hear them.
Yeah, genuinely.
This movie is, I don't want to say broken apart because I do think the storylines are concurrent, but we have the story of Vito and then we have the story of Michael.
Yeah.
So I thought, as much as possible, because we're definitely going to be jumping around, it might be a good idea to just start with Vito's story and work our way forward.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Who's played by Robert De Niro?
He is played by Robert De
Which
Niro. Absolutely.
which I had no idea.
Yeah.
Staring at Vito for 3 hours. I was like, he looks like the real life version of when Shrek becomes a human.
Yes. Yep. You sent me that picture and I was like, that's true. It's undeniable.
Yeah. And like a couple of days later, I'm like researching and I was like, Vito was played by Robert De Niro? What? Who knew? And so I went to my father-in-law's for dinner and we were talking about The Godfather 2 and I was like, yeah, and Robert De Niro plays Vito. And they're like, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. So I am the only one who was surprised by this.
Yeah, that was pretty great. That was a great text to get just out of nowhere. Michelle texted me in all caps, Vito is Robert De Niro. I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah.
With the mind blown emoji.
So how did you feel about Robert De Niro as young Vito?
I thought he was great. I mean, in the first Godfather, Vito was my favorite, turned out to be my
Yes.
favorite. So I liked revisiting and going back and, learning how he came to. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we get the starting point in Italy and
Yeah, God.
coming to America by himself,
Yeah.
that whole sequence was, I mean, it was pretty captivating to me.
Yeah. Watching his mom get blown away by a shotgun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah. And then I just, it makes you think like, I mean, this is like a obvious statement, but taking the boat over to
Yes.
Ellis Island. I mean,
Yeah.
that whole experience as a child. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had mentioned the first movie starts with the line, I believe in America.
Mm-hmm.
And we look at like the Corleone family and the mafia, especially in this one, as like a parallel of like capitalism and ruthlessness in business and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see like this version of the American dream where Vito doesn't start off as a bad guy. Vito's like running for his life.
Yeah. But don't
And
you think, okay, the way he came to be,
yeah.
I mean, you're not mentally messed up if you experienced that amount of murder and shooting and violence. I think it's deep in you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then I mean, he's basically so he gets smallpox probably on the boat
Right.
over
Right.
and he has to quarantine for 3 months, I think, as a child alone. He's basically in prison. He's basically in like solitary confinement for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And out his window is the Statue of Liberty. And it's
Yeah.
like, he doesn't speak English. He doesn't, you know really anybody there. And it's intense. It's a very intense beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But we see him as, just a nice guy. He's married, he's got a kid who's sick.
Mm-hmm.
And Clemenza is the one who throws him the bag of guns at first. And, he kind of sees Fanucci, the Black Hand, and
Yeah.
he knows that like something's not right. This isn't the way it should be because he's like, if he's Italian, why is he messing with other Italians?
Right.
And I think the movie gives us that because we're not rooting for Michael really, like any of the way through this. Michael is so far gone. I mean, I think that's the point of the first movie, right? Like he becomes a bad guy.
Yeah, I feel like he was more intense in the first one.
Uh-huh.
And like from start when we first meet Michael to where we leave him in the first one.
Yeah.
And I said like I don't like Michael. I don't like who he's become. I don't.
Yeah.
And the second one, I mean, he's just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah.
He's very, stoic and
Quiet. Yes, very
composed,
quiet.
very
Yeah.
composed. So a little bit different. But how much time passed between in the story from where we left the first one and we go to the second?
At the christening party, I believe Michael's dancing with Kay, and she
Yeah.
says to him, "You told me in
Yes. Yes.
5
Yes.
years the
Yeah. Yeah.
Corleone business would be legitimate, and that was 7 years ago."
Okay. So he's been in this role for 7 years.
Ish, I think, because I think I remember him saying to Kay, I can't remember exactly when he tells her, the family's going to be legitimate. That might have been when he just randomly picks. Remember when he randomly picks her up outside of the school? He's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I'm back. Come with me." And she's like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yes.
Like, I can't remember exactly when it is, but several years at least, have passed.
Yeah. Okay. So he's been in this role.
Yeah, because his kids are older. I don't remember
Right.
quite how old they were when we left off last time, but
Yeah.
yeah, first communion I think is usually around 8. I'm not
That makes
Catholic, so
sense.
I'm,
It
I'm
looked
not
like
sure.
Anthony was
Yeah,
around that age.
poor little Anthony.
He's just making a drawing for his dad.
I
Why can't I
know.
go with you, Dad?
I know. I can help you. All that stuff. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Ugh. I know.
But Vito's got kids of his own.
Sure does. Yeah.
While I'm not crazy sympathetic towards Vito, in this version of his story, in the beginnings, he's helping out ladies with their landlords. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what'd you
What?
think about that whole part?
I mean, it seems like he's the guy to go to. He
Yeah,
becomes that one. Like, I just
yeah,
wanted a dog for my kids.
right.
Yeah, I would want someone to help me so I can keep my dog. My kid loves the dog.
Yeah, and it's almost like Michael. He's like completely lost that whole part of the
Yeah.
whole thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
like in the first one, we're seeing Vito giving out favors to people and helping people, and
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
different
I mean,
foundation. It's different foundation, right? So Vito comes up, he becomes in power, the new Don, and he's very much into giving, giving, giving. You know,
yeah,
a little give and take, right? But more favors. Michael
yeah,
is kind of thrown into this role. It is way more convoluted. I got to keep these deals going, all these businesses going. I think it's always easier in the beginning because it's just smaller.
yeah. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah,
It's just taken over. I mean, Michael is dealing, I mean, we're dealing with businesses in New York, and then we have Miami and Cuba, and we
yeah,
have, I mean, it in Vegas.
yeah.
Yeah,
And he doesn't even go back to New York. Like, we start out in Lake Tahoe,
which kind of
and
threw me, to be honest with you.
yeah,
Like that, you know, yeah. Doesn't
Frank.
he? He doesn't go back to the estate. He never goes back to New York, huh?
No, Frankie Five Fingers is like,
Frankie
what
Pants.
you? And Michael's like, I'm not going back to New York.
Right.
And it's kind of like,
Okay.
oh, okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
like Michael has like really gone like worldwide, and like the whole
Right.
Havana thing. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah.
See, we're already
The
bouncing around like crazy. Um,
well, you can't help it.
do you think? Because I thought about having kids, and
Hmm.
sometimes when you have a baby or a child, there's things that kind of get set up in your mind from when they're small and like never leave.
Hmm.
So when Fredo has pneumonia and he's just like laying there crying and crying, and Vito's like, you can see he's like scared and he's upset and he can't help him. I was like, I wonder if they put that specifically in with Fredo to make you understand Vito's like compassion for him, I guess, later on. Or
Mm.
like understanding of like Fredo is not the smartest dude. He's not like the
Yeah.
most capable of his three sons, but it's like Vito's still looking at him, perhaps, like a little baby,
Oh, I never
helpless.
thought of that. As this for a storytelling device, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like all the times that we see Vito with his kids, like Sonny is always like fighting or pretending to fight.
And he's just so erratic.
And then every time we see him interacting with Michael, he's like bringing him close and like telling
Yeah.
him thing and like, yeah. So I think we're supposed to see like the three versions of their relationship with him, like as young kids. But so Clemenza is played by Bruno Kirby, Baby Fishmouth from When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
How did you feel about seeing it?
It's just like, and it's no disrespect, but
Yeah.
I was just like, this 14-year-old. I had a hard time taking him seriously. He just seemed like a child wearing dad's clothing.
Wearing a
And
little bowler cap.
yeah, and just like also like, ooh, hide my guns, right?
Right,
You know,
right.
like Vito's just thrown into this.
Yeah.
Like literally just. But every time Clemenza was on the screen, I was just like, I giggled. I'm like, I am not supposed to be giggling, and he's not doing a bad job at all.
Oh no, he's great.
He's great. I just he felt
but
like
the
he was
music
14.
also like that plays whenever he's around or like during when they're like stealing the rug, and it's funny. Like it's I think
it's
the
comical.
score is it's definitely supposed to be funnier. And then they show up and he's like, oh, I forgot the key. Oh no.
Right.
Ah, well, okay.
Yeah.
And then very, very famous shot. I mean, and we should definitely say Gordon Willis, the cinematography in this, great. Movie looks phenomenal. But the shot of Clemenza on the side of the door as the police officer's like maybe possibly going to come in and he's got the gun ready. It's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I think the movie is trying to do everything it can to like give our sympathies to young Vito.
Yeah.
And like he only takes out Fanucci because Fanucci's a bully and he's taking from everybody.
What a scene that was. That whole sequence.
It's crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean,
the towel wrapped around the arm.
I mean, even
I don't know if I've
before
ever seen that.
when he like first meets with him, like, well, first with the deal of like, I will talk to him, and he just remains so calm, doesn't say a lot, and it's during this festival, and you're like, well, just watching him make his move into the building. You're like, what is gonna happen? And then that time, I was like, oh wow, we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I kept thinking like, oh, okay, how is he going to trick him? Or I was like, no, there's no trick. He's literally just going to offer him less money and say, I'll pay you sometime, and that's it. And it's like, wow, and it works. Like
it works because he has the balls to do it. He has the balls to do it, and so it's like this weird. I respect you for undermining me and holding your ground.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so he shoots Fanucci, right?
Yeah.
Not once, not twice. Let me get closer and do it in the mouth.
Holy moly. Yeah.
Why? To make it seem like it was suicide? Or just
to be thorough? No, he wanted him dead. He wanted to make sure he was dead.
You know, in that moment, I felt like it was Vito, like, been pent up. I feel like part of him from childhood came and was just like, oh, I need to shoot something and get revenge in my own way.
Right.
I was like, dude, that's how I felt in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe he learned that lesson. I mean, Don Ciccio from Sicily, he says he's like he's going to grow up and he's going to come back and get revenge. Yeah. And so maybe he was like, there can be no possibility that Fanucci can ever get revenge on me.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, the first time he shoots him, it's like, okay. And then he shoots him in the face. It's like, oh my God. So before we move on from Fanucci, I wanted to ask you about, this movie has great fashion, great looks. I think every time Fredo's on screen, anything he's wearing is great. A lot of what young Vito is wearing is really great. But I think if there's one style icon from this movie, it would probably be Fanucci.
I agree. I was very obsessed with everything Fanucci wore, especially his shoe choice, which I've been wanting to talk about this since I watched the movie. It's specifically when he's talking to Vito and Vito's telling him, I'm not going to pay you what you want. I just don't have the money. If you zoom in, The shoe choice. At first, I'm like, this is a sock and a flat. But
Yeah.
it's a booty. I think it's a booty.
It
You
might be
gotta
a
zoom in.
booty. It might be spats kind of a thing. But it looks like the daintiest shoe that a man has ever worn, coupled with
I
like the
know.
daintiest sock that a man has ever worn. And when I say a man, I don't really like anybody, just like anybody.
Right.
This
And
shoe is so wild.
it's just white on white on white. So we have the white
Mm-hmm.
pant and then we have the
Mm-hmm.
white sock, which is this is a long sock. And then that's a boot.
Yeah.
I'm
It's an interesting.
obsessed. I'm
Yeah.
obsessed
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
want it. I would wear 100%.
Yeah, I like Fanucci. Fanucci is definitely more of like a stereotypical mob kind of a guy. Just
Yeah.
the way that he acts and dresses, and the flair in his walk and style and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it's in very strong contrast to the Don that Vito would become.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
not flashy and flamboyant.
Understated.
He knows the people and the people like him. On the streets, but he's not this guy. And this guy, I think, is like that because he's taking people's money and he's asserting
Yeah.
himself over them. And Vito is not that kind of guy.
He reminded me of a cartoon villain, and I just can't put
Can't place him.
I can't place him. I feel like it's someone in the Goofy world.
Some kind of
What's
animated cat
yeah, who's like the stockier character who's like
from
Goofy
Goofy.
adjacent. I'll come to it. Let's not waste time on this. I can't. Yeah. It's
Bluto?
Pluto? No.
Bluto?
Bluto? I don't know.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah. I'll send it to you when I figure it out. And Bluto could work actually, but that's not who I'm thinking of. Anyway.
So he kills Don Fanucci. At this point, he's working with Clemenza and Tessio.
Mm-hmm.
And Tessio is the guy that in the first movie, as an older dude, Sal Tessio, played by Abe Vigoda, Michael will call for him to be killed because Vito warns him before he dies, hey, someone's going to approach you to set up a meeting, to have peace. Whoever that person is, that's the person who's going to betray you. And it turns out to be Tessio. And it's messed up because we see Tessio here working with Don Vito from the beginning, from when Michael's a child, like a toddler walking around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad, but I think it's important to note because while these are characters that we care about, I don't think the movie is ever trying to tell us like this is a cool way to live or like a cool way to be.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not wanting this lifestyle. I might want the shoes and the clothes, but I don't want to be a capo or anything,
Right. Vito starts an oil import business, olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
He goes back to Sicily and he meets with Don Tomasino.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, when Michael flees America in Godfather 1, see, I'm saying later on and referring to a previous film. It's an interesting thing that they do here. Anyway, he meets with Don Tomasino. That's the people that Michael will be hiding out with when he goes to Sicily, when he's hiding out.
Huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Don Tomasino gets him, a meeting with Don Ciccio, who's the guy who killed his mom and dad and brother. And Vito just, I don't even know what you call this.
Revenge.
Gores him with a knife.
Oh, you mean the actual act?
Yeah. How'd you feel about that? Was your stomach turning?
No.
Oh,
but it's like at first I'm like, what are we? I'm following along. We're talking about olive oil, blah blah, blessing, don't your blessing, blah blah. And they're just like, oh, you need to have a sneak attack. That's the only way to do it is you have to do a stabbing.
Yeah.
It was the sound though that was really like it was like
Yeah.
so gross.
Oh, it's horrible. It's like because he stabs him and then just kind of it's not a slice, it's not a slash, it's just like a drag. Oh God.
Yeah. And the Don had some nice cushion, and so you can get that like stuffing effect. Like if you were to stab me, it would be really I think not satisfying. It'd be like, oh, we just
Okay,
we
please
just
keep
hit her.
going.
It'd be like, oh, we just hit a rib because it's right there.
Okay, yeah. So you think like
That went weird, right? That went
you
weird.
think like the knife would go in and it would like be like
Yeah.
ding ding
Yeah.
ding ding.
Yeah. We got a chisel because it's just.
All right.
That's
Well, if any of
unfortunate.
the podcast dons out there are looking to assassinate Michelle
Oh,
in a satisfying way, don't go with stabbing.
don't go with stabbing. It won't be satisfying for you
Yeah,
unless you're
yeah, yeah.
into that.
I have the cushion. You can do that to me. I mean, please don't. But
No, right.
that's an interesting question. How would you want to be assassinated?
Poison me.
Oh God. Okay. It's like
Well,
the
I don't want to
worst.
be shot. I don't want to be shot. I don't
Hmm.
want to be like buried alive or tortured.
You know, I figured it out.
You did?
Yeah, I want to go out just like my man Hyman Roth, telling a joke, and then blammo.
You know what? That is so fitting. Going out on a bit.
Yes.
I would
Yes.
I would like to go out on a bit and then I like take a swig because I'm parched and that's what
Right.
kills me.
And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, and then they still think it's a bit.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep in the bit.
Yeah. That's really funny.
Yeah.
So moving forward into the present, I guess I'll just say, Robert De Niro is great in this role. He wins, I think it's Best Supporting Actor. Marlon Brando had won Best Actor for Don Vito. And I've seen a lot of people say this is the only time that two people have won the Oscar for playing the same character. But Heath Ledger won a posthumous supporting actor for the Joker, and Joaquin Phoenix won for playing the Joker, Best Actor. So I don't know if they're just not counting it because it's across two categories or what, but someone out there who actually cares about the Oscars, let me know. I got to tell you, right now, we're in the throes of Oscar discourse online, and I want to drink some poison myself right now. It's the most annoying time of the year. Oh, it's horrible.
Not to get you off your little rant there, but
yeah.
Before we move on from Vito, I did have a question for you because this is something I kept bringing up to Aunt. Marlon Brando.
Yes.
Okay, when he portrayed Vito, had a very distinct voice choice.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Young Vito, I was like, are we going to do this? Right? Are we going to bring it in? Sometimes it comes in. And then sometimes it's not. And Aunt was just like, oh, because when you get older, your voice changes and it gets softer and lower. And I was like, yeah, but there's sometimes he's doing it and sometimes he's not doing it.
Yeah.
And then Aunt said, it doesn't matter.
Right. It's very funny to me. I will get really hung up on something and your response is it doesn't matter. And then you have like the version of that, which is Anthony. So you'll be like, and then he's like, it's just a movie.
I know, but no.
I wonder if Anthony has a version of that in his life.
I'll ask him. I'm sure he does. Aunt, send us an email. When you get to this part, send us an email.
So I read that Marlon Brando wanted to do that voice because he imagined that Vito had been shot and it had like affected the way that he spoke. And we don't really see that in this one. Like maybe it happens off camera or maybe not. Maybe De Niro didn't know about that. Like that might be a fact that maybe came out, years later and he wasn't privy to that. But what I do know is De Niro does not talk in this movie. Like it's very rare that he speaks almost at all. And when we meet his mom, Mrs. Andolini, because his name is not Corleone. No. They call him Corleone because that's where he's from at Ellis Island.
Yeah.
Which was something that really happened.
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Andolini brings Vito to Don Ciccio in the beginning and says, this is my son. He doesn't know how to talk. She almost talks about him the way that they talk about Fredo, which maybe was another thing that, made Vito a little more compassionate to Fredo. She said, I think she says like does she call him a half-wit or she says something along those lines?
I think she says he's weak and he's dumb. Like he's not going to
talk.
He's not going to come after you.
Yeah. And so through all that, through Vito's whole journey, he doesn't talk at all until he's alone by himself and then he starts to sing, and he sings to himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just a characteristic of Vito that he's very, very he only speaks when he needs to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And for De Niro, like you were saying, him slipping in and out of it, I don't know if it was an intentional thing
Yeah, but
or
maybe I'm the only one who picked
mistakes
that
on his
up.
part.
Did you
No,
pick
you're
that
not.
up?
No, no, no. Oh
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
no,
okay.
no.
I
Yeah.
mean, for the fact that I'm like, I'm the only one. I don't mean it like that. I meant like
Yeah, yeah.
in the recent viewing of You, Me, and Anthony, I was very much waiting for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that he doesn't fully go that way with it. Like, he's not talking like this like the
It
whole
would seem like an
time.
impersonation. It would seem weird, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I think it's more like he gets the spirit of Vito. And so I think he does that. I think he nails that. Yeah. But yeah, like the accent sometimes we're slipping a little here and there, and
Yeah.
it's all right.
Yeah.
De Niro's great. Hey, he won an award for it.
Mazel.
So moving into the current day of the film, Sonny is obviously dead. Vito is gone. Michael at this point has just completely dominated the five families, and he's out in Lake Tahoe. They're now working with different senators and politicians to get, new licenses for things. He's trying to go legitimate. And he's so dead set on, I just need to do these 10 more terrible things, and then we can kind of pull back.
Do you think he
you know,
actually believes that? I think it.
I don't,
I don't
you tell me
know.
what you think.
Yeah, I don't. I think we're way too overwhelmed, and I think we were doomed from the start with this.
Definitely.
Not that Michael wasn't the best son to go with, because
Yeah.
clearly he was the one to take over. But it's no, we were
Yeah.
doomed. Yeah, I didn't really have hope for you.
I think Tom Hagen was the son to go with.
Well, clearly, I
Yeah.
mean,
I
he
mean,
was. Yeah,
and they wouldn't for various reasons, but I think Michael just has, he has the quote unquote goods to get it done, but
yes,
he completely leaves behind all of the principles that Vito tries to instill in him. In the first movie, he tells him, I think he doesn't say it to Michael, but Vito says, a man who doesn't spend time with his family is no man at all. And
mm-hmm,
over the course of this movie, we see Michael just completely losing his
mm-hmm,
family.
mm-hmm.
And towards the end, he goes to talk with his mom, and he asks her, he says, what did dad feel in his heart? Did he think that like being the man that he was would make him lose his family, and make him lose
Mm-hmm.
us? And he had to be he had to be strong and tough and all that stuff. So I think, yeah, it's like, it's just a collision course with death and misery, and he makes everybody miserable around him. And
Yeah, and I think the intentions are good. It's kind of like Walter White in a way.
definitely, yeah, definitely. And I think,
Yeah,
like Walter White, Michael's lying to Kay and himself about this whole going legitimate thing. Like that he can say, oh yeah, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. But if you just scale your operation back, you could go legitimate overnight.
right,
Buy some warehouses, actually
right,
become an oil importer. How much
right,
money do you need? You need to own Havana?
right,
Come on.
right. Yeah,
It's
right,
crazy.
right.
So how'd you feel about Al Pacino returning as Michael?
I mean, I think he did a great job.
Yeah.
Michael still isn't my favorite, and but I think Al Pacino does a great job. I mean, it's the only
Yeah.
Michael I know, so he does a good job.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head earlier when you said he's so quiet and reserved in this movie. You really you got to watch his face in a lot of scenes.
Oh yeah, and the eyes. You have to
Yeah.
watch the eyes. They tell everything.
So this was your first time watching it. This is my second time watching it. And both Godfather movies, when I finished them, I was like, I get the gist of it, but man, there are so many moving parts here. I can't quite tell you exactly what happened. Like the first time I watched this, we literally get to the end, and Frank Pentangeli, Frankie Five Angels, kills himself.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get to that montage, I was like, "Who's that? Why did he kill himself?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's going? I was like, I know that I'm supposed to. This is a big shocking moment, but what's going on here?
Yeah. I mean, this is it's just doing a lot, and
Yeah,
we're telling a lot of story here. The veto
yeah,
stuff, very easy to follow.
absolutely.
So
That's
great. I
like
loved it. It's like
simple, easy.
no problems.
Hmm.
Michael, we're filling in, we're going to Havana, we're dealing with Hyman, we're also doing a trial.
Yeah,
The Fredo of it all. You're like,
yeah,
Fredo, you are what happened?
yeah,
Kay, and the Kay
yeah,
stuff to me, I was waiting for I was like, I know this is going down. It's just a matter
yeah,
of when. And
yeah.
then Connie brings in Merle. Was Merle even someone I should care about?
I don't think so. No, I
No,
mean,
but
now I will say, I have not seen the third Godfather, and I am now waiting to see it until we do it next year.
right,
So
right.
perhaps Merle comes back in
And
spectacular fashion.
Deanna, she seemed like a hot mess.
Yeah, yeah,
Fredo's wife.
yeah.
He's very embarrassed by her.
Girlfriend,
Girlfriend, right, girlfriend. I
I'm
think
not
girl
sure.
partner.
Yeah,
And then where are you, hun?
yeah,
I don't know what happened to you. It doesn't matter. See, it doesn't matter.
yeah. I love that they did this. I love that by making this movie, you make the first movie the second movie, and you make the second movie the first and third movie at the same time. That's such an interesting, funny way of doing this. Like, hey, it's the prequel and the sequel all at once. And I I like that they did that. In his initial review for this, Ebert was like, no, all of that veto stuff takes away from the tension, and it takes away from the movie. They shouldn't have, whatever. It doesn't work as well. He would later go on to adjust his review and score. But I think it's cool. Like, they're following up the most successful box office movie of all time, like a huge cultural moment, and they do something experimental with it. I think that's cool. I liked it. But man, you got to keep a lot of people's names in your head, as we're
Like,
telling Michael's story.
didn't it feel like we were just trying to get in as much? Like, I think we probably could have cut some stuff out, and not that I want to lose it, but there were a couple of times where I'm like, the movie could end here.
Yeah.
And maybe I could see that in the next one. But I'm like, how many
Hmm.
would we have? 5? Like,
Right, right,
when is
right.
it too much, or when do we just extend the movie?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, they at 3.5 hours, they were like, extend the movie. How did you feel about the runtime?
Well, going into it, I pep talks and
Yeah.
gonna brace myself and all the things. And I
Yeah.
knew there was an intermission, and I was like, Aunt and he was able to watch it with me, which was great. And so I was
Great.
like,
Oh,
well,
good.
we'll do an hour and a half of it. And about like, I had him pause it in what I thought was like around 48 minutes. I'm like, I just want to take a guess.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think 48 minutes has passed. And he was like, oh, it's actually been like an hour and 10. And I was like, no way.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. Yeah.
moves. It moved
Yes.
really well.
Yeah.
But it just felt like with the Michael stuff, we are just traveling a lot. And then the trial part threw
Mm-hmm.
me. I was like,
Yes. Yeah.
what? Okay. Okay. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah.
The trial part definitely, which I think we should do a segment cut, edit, keep towards the end of this
Yeah.
quickly,
Yeah. Hmm.
because there is so much. But
Yeah.
I started this at a reasonable time. I like maybe 9 o'clock, and so I thought, okay, I'll be done. But because the film is so long, I normally watch a movie several times before we record on it. I was like, this is it, baby, one and done. Like, I got to make this watch really count. And so I was pausing a lot, taking notes. I had up Wikipedia pages of characters as we're going so that I can figure out who is related to the first movie, who was new, all that stuff. And I really feel like I got it. Like, it took this second time of like knuckling down and pausing and notating every person's name. But I do feel like I see the story, and it does feel more simple the second time around.
Yeah.
It's just that every character that gets introduced, there are, it's like sub character A and B, and then how does that sub character relate to this other main character's sub character A and B?
Right.
So that kind of gets a little tricky, but I think that you can get the general gist of the movie. The gist is there's an assassination attempt, and he goes underground and travels the
Mm-hmm.
world to figure
Mm-hmm.
out who it
Mm-hmm.
was, because he cannot proceed with the deal with Hyman Roth. He can't fix the problems that Frankie Five Angels is having back in New York. He can't fix the problems in his family until he knows who it is that tried to do this. And so that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Simple, got it. At the opening scene, the first communion party, we've got the senator that he talks back to.
Mm-hmm.
A great scene. Like, I think that this movie is fantastically quotable if you're a very macho man. Like, you fantasize about sitting in a chair, looking at someone and saying, "I'll tell you my offer right now. Nothing." And then be like, "Not even the gaming license fee, which I would appreciate if you would pay yourself." I did want to note this film, when we get the title card, it's a chair. It's an empty chair. And it's a very like stiff chair. And I think that comes into play later with Michael and Fredo. But anyway, I thought the runtime was great. Even though I went super late into the night, I think I ended at maybe like 1:30 in the morning. I could have kept watching this for longer. I didn't feel totally exhausted. I felt like energized and interested, and I was like, maybe I should start another movie after this one. Another big gamble. 3.5 hour movie. That's
Yeah.
intense, but I think they pull it off. I think that they do it real well.
Yeah. I mean, this definitely, I'm into the story. I've now talked
Yeah,
about it. Not, I mean, I probably would have talked about it with whoever would talk about it with me, if even if I wasn't doing a podcast with you. And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so I would be messaging and having the conversation and talking about like who's who and doing the research. So in that way, this is very good. It's very good.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar. It's similar to like Lord of the Rings, which I know that you're not super
I've only
the
seen the second
biggest.
one.
Right, right, right. In Lord of the Rings, there are times where there's a lot of characters, because it's based on books and
Right.
massive
Right.
books, and there's things that people hate each other for that happened hundreds of years before, and all of that. And that's kind of what this is like. I imagine reading the book would be easier to follow.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
there are some characters, for example, the guy who ends up killing Hyman Roth, that's Rocco Lampone. I thought
Mhm.
that was just some random guy. I didn't even know that I was supposed to recognize that character
Mhm.
at the end of the movie. And I said to you, I was like, yeah, I guess they just picked some guy to commit suicide for killing. No,
Right.
that's Rocco. Rocco's there throughout the movie.
Yeah. I mean, Seth created an amazing visual guide that is very helpful. And
I did my best.
you did really, really well because, like you said, you get the gist of the movie, but to keep everybody's face and name, it's
Yeah.
face and name.
Yeah,
And so
face and
this
name,
is
yeah.
super helpful. I've been looking at it the whole time. It's great.
So I think Michael's great, but he's scary. He's not kind. He
No.
is in control. He doesn't want to lose control. And the only way that he knows to keep control, I mean, like with Connie, when Connie comes in with Merle, just the way that he handles that. And with Fredo, the way that he handles all that stuff. Vito was a bad guy, and he handled things, I feel, a little bit more gracefully. Where with Michael, it feels like there's anger behind everything
Yeah.
that he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vito handled it with heart,
Yeah.
and I think Michael's spiraling. The power is falling through.
So I do want to ask you about Kay.
Yeah.
Diane Keaton.
Who I
We loved her
love.
in the first one.
Yeah.
She's not in this one that much.
Yeah.
How'd
She's
you
in the
feel about
background.
her? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she's in the background And I mean, it sets it up in the beginning when they're dancing of like when you said this was going to become legitimate. And so you already know
Hmm.
she's thinking about this. And when she's pregnant and he takes off, and then when we have that amazing scene between the two of them, it's like that's
Yeah.
when Michael starts yelling when
Yeah.
she's like, I'm taking the kids and
Yeah.
I'm leaving. And
Yeah.
then she goes, I had an abortion because I didn't want to
Yeah.
bring another kid into this world that you were the father of. My jaw dropped.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
powerful.
It's
Powerful.
it's it's very intense. I think that she is awesome in this. And while there are great scenes, great performances, I don't think anyone in this movie isn't like top notch. That feels like the kind of like linchpin for the movie. That scene, at least in terms of Michael, like emotionally and psychologically, and Kay, and what the point of this whole thing is. I think that I don't want to say like, oh, she steals the movie, but like you said, your jaw just drops. It's wild.
Yeah, because you think the story is she miscarried.
Right.
And that's so sad. And for her to go through that alone. And
Yeah.
then when she's like, oh, actually, I aborted because you
Yeah.
suck.
And her face, like,
Mm-hmm.
talk about watching people's faces in this movie. She initially tells him, like, I'm going to leave. I've never been in that situation before, so I don't know how I would react. In that moment, you have a choice to make, I think, as a human being, you know, and he chooses to try to force her to stay. At that point, that ain't happening, man. Like, I don't care why the person is leaving. You know, like he's just making it worse, and he's proving to her all of the reasons why she should leave him. She should take those kids and get out of there. Like, Kay is totally right, and if you have a problem with that, you need to reevaluate your
Yeah.
morals.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she finally kind of comes to herself after the assassination attempt. You know, her kids are there, she's there. uh, he's not going to stop. This is not going to stop. So she tells him she's going to leave, and he gets so angry. He hits her,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he hits her after, though. But anyway, he kind of calms down and he says, I'm going to change. I've learned that I have the strength to change. You're going to forget this miscarriage. We're going to have another baby, right? And her face, as he's saying this, it's like just the way it changes. And it goes from like, anger and fear to like disgust, mockery, pity, like all these different things. It's incredible. It's great.
Also, when
She's
she says, you're not listening to me,
yeah,
that's like a huge, because
yeah.
that right there is
And
a,
she starts out the conversation saying like you're blind,
mm-hmm.
and then when she gets to that point, she says you are blind. Like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, like you
Mm-hmm.
have no idea what you're even
Mm-hmm.
talking about or who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of wish that we had a little bit more with her, like maybe more with her and Tom, because Michael places Tom in
Mm.
charge as the Don,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of just babysitting the house and the compound, and
Yeah.
I mean the way he handles the senator, how they have like the sex worker murdered and make him
Yeah.
think that he did it, and he's like, oh, I don't know what happened, I passed out. I was like, well, they drugged you. This is Fredo's place.
Right.
Like they drugged you, they killed her, and now they're pinning it. So Tom is just as evil and just as ruthless, as any of them. So yeah, I wish that we did get a little bit more with Kay, but
Do you
at
think
3.5
Kay
hours,
attending
yeah,
the trial, was the catalyst of, I already knew how I felt and I was going to leave, but I'm seeing what's happening here. This
right.
is it.
It's possible. I mean, again, I've never been through something like that, but having to handle your kids and have them all, Michael
Yeah.
makes the statement to the Senate where he says, he's like, my children deserve, a chance at the American dream without
Mm-hmm.
this hanging over them. And it's a lot. It's too much. It's more than just like, yeah, we, sell drugs and we run gambling stuff and we do illegal stuff. This is like, they're on a national and international level of pressure
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And Michael, he's the one who kind of makes the calls, but he doesn't actually do it.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of innocent when you think,
Well,
right? Like if you're being asked like, "Hey, have you ever, directly affected?" It's like, well, not direct,
well, he did kill those people in the first one in the restaurant.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the second one. It just felt like he was very much
Not involved.
observing and
Yeah, yeah,
telling,
yeah. I do think that the movie is Michael looking back at his life because of the
Mhm.
final shot that we get of him, and he's just kind of like in a park, or he might be at their compound. I don't know. And he's
Mhm.
older. He's got like more gray in his hair. He
Mhm.
just looks older, and the movie just ends on him just sitting there thinking. I do think that he's thinking of his father's own story and how his father, he had to flee for his life, and this is the time in Michael's life where he's running for his life, and how
Mhm.
the two kind of handled the revenge. And so that kind of leads me to Fredo, played by John
Mhm.
Cazale.
Mhm.
When we did our first episode on The Godfather, I wrote down a note for myself to mention his acting history, and I didn't. And for a year, I've been kicking myself. So this is a year in the making. But before we talk about Fredo, I have to mention John Cazale was in 5 films. He was in The Godfather, The Godfather Part 2, The Deer Hunter, Dog Day Afternoon, and The Conversation. He's diagnosed with cancer and he dies, I think within a year of being diagnosed. And while he's undergoing treatment, he films The Deer Hunter. He agrees to do it. His girlfriend, Meryl Streep, is in the movie. It's one of the first ones that she's in. Robert De Niro is in it. The studio wants to let him go, and Robert De Niro pays the extra insurance to have him on the film. Finishes the film. He dies before the movie comes out. Very, very sad. All 5 films that he has been in were all nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. Something that no one has ever done before. And like all those pictures that I just named, right? Those 5 films are part of the best decade in American cinema, maybe ever. The 1970s, I think, in my opinion, and several other people's opinions. And nobody knows him, like nobody knows his name. And they actually made a documentary like on that whole subject, that everybody knows him as Fredo, or maybe, but he's like pound for pound has the best performances of any actor ever, and probably ever will.
Wow. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, that hits harder then. And it's just layered and deeper.
Yes. Yeah. And he was a stage actor. He did a lot of stage acting.
Mhm.
And I watched an interview with Al Pacino today where he talks about like learning from John and just the type of guy that he was and the actor that he was, and it's all very interesting. Like he just seems like a really cool dude. And yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen those films, check them out just for his performances. He's great. He's great.
Wow.
So now that I've prefaced our Fredo talk with all of that, how did you feel about Fredo in this movie?
I feel for him. I don't know if I saw it coming,
Yeah.
but I think it makes sense
Uh-huh.
of his fate.
Yeah.
And especially when we have that conversation with him and Michael, and he's just saying, like, pretty much, like, I was never the one, and I'm always in your
Mm.
shadow. And, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you're my younger brother. You're taking care of me. You know,
Yeah.
that's a hard one, right? Just from a sibling point of view. But what'd you think of Fredo? I mean, you love Fredo. You've been saying it for days, so
I do. And I said it in the last
I
episode that we
know.
did. I was like, I
I
love
know.
Fredo. Like everybody hates him, and
Really? Do
they
people
think
hate
that
it? Well,
he's
I
like
guess
a
in the movie, but I don't
yeah, it's
hate
like he's a
Fredo.
schmuck, like they send him out
Yeah.
to work with Mo Green. I almost said Al Green.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Mo Green. Hmm.
And in this one, you don't the whole thing with his girlfriend, making a fool out of him in front of everybody. The scene later in the film where he's talking with Anthony and he's like, we all went fishing and I was the only one who caught a fish. It's because I have a secret. My secret is to say a Hail Mary. Yeah, he's just a little guy,
Yeah.
And then again,
Yeah.
like you see him as the baby and he's sick. Fredo's just as bad. It's his establishment where
Mm-hmm.
they kill the woman. He had to have some part in that. And
Mm-hmm.
when he's talking to Michael and he's like, I swear I didn't know that it was an assassination attempt. I
Hmm.
believe that. I believe it. I think that he was foolish and they took
Mm-hmm.
advantage of him. And the
Mm-hmm.
way that they took advantage of him was they told him there would be something in it for him.
Yeah,
Like
they
he would be able to
manipulated. Yeah.
have something of his own. And like, that's all that he's wanted.
Right. Yeah, sense of ownership.
Yeah, when they're in Havana, he's like, maybe I should have gotten married to someone like Kay and had
Yep.
kids. Like he doesn't have
Yep.
kids. He doesn't have a wife. He's not trusted with his own area like Frank is. And it bothers him. Like it bothers him a lot. And like I have 7 siblings. And so I feel like I've experienced all sides of this in like
Mm.
many different ways. And it is very it's very tough. It's very,
Yeah.
very tough
Yeah.
to feel like that and to feel like that in both shoes, Michael's shoes and Fredo's shoes. One thing that I noticed this time, and I was just like, oh my God, I just want to curl up and die right now, is when they're on Lake Tahoe, Fredo comes in on a boat. He comes
Yeah.
into the party on a boat.
Oh, man.
And we know from the ending that he leaves
Yeah.
on a boat. And I was like, that's really good. That's
Yeah.
something you can't notice on your first time
No. I mean,
watching that.
I didn't. I mean, as soon as Connie told little Anthony, like, hey, you have to come inside, I was like, oh, man, here it
Yeah.
is. This is
So
it. This is
did
it.
Connie know?
I don't think so.
Because Connie's coming to bat for Fredo. She doesn't want to have anything to do with Michael. She doesn't want to be around the family. She wants money. She wants to leave until their mother dies.
Right.
And then she's like, I want to be closer. And I think
Right.
it's because she knows, if she's around, that she can keep Fredo safe. And,
Yeah.
she can't.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, did she know?
I really don't think so.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, I don't know what happens in the third and if we address it, but I
Yeah.
think she just probably is like, oh, he drowned.
Right.
Like she knows, but she's not going to bring it up.
Right. So yeah, I feel bad for him. I think we're doing all these parallels between the first movie and this one, which might be my least favorite part of this, honestly. We finished the first one with the orchestrated deaths of all the,
Mm-hmm.
mobsters. And then this one we also finished with like several orchestrated deaths. And it's just like I think if you don't include Fredo in that, it doesn't match the emotional weight of the first one like at all. So I think you could have, had Frank commit suicide in prison at one point in the story, and I think you could have assassinated Hyman Roth at another point in the story, and then you have Fredo just have his own moment. Yeah, but it's very impactful and it's very shocking, and
Yeah.
you think you know how bad Michael is, and then
Well, especially because Michael's like, I can't trust you. I'm not talking to you.
oh yeah,
Like, how long did that go on for?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, because he
And then
says,
Carmela dies, right? So it's in the
yeah,
middle. Their mother passes away. So I'm like, how much time went by where Michael's not associating with Fredo?
right, because he says you're not a brother to me. I don't want
Right.
to know you. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But not enough time for him to forget or forgive.
Right. Or trust.
Yeah,
Loose
and
cannon.
like
Mm-hmm.
at the funeral, Connie asks him to go forgive Fredo, and
Mm-hmm.
he like hugs Fredo, but he like kind of grabs his
Mm-hmm.
head, and it's almost like
Mm-hmm.
Fredo's very emotional, right? But it's like Michael's like holding like a fish or like an animal or something. And he looks at Al Neary and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
gives him the look of like, okay,
Right.
it's time. We're
Like,
killing this
this is
dude.
me making my peace.
Yeah.
So sorry this had to go this way.
Yeah. And it's similar to how he holds Fredo in Havana on New Year's. Because,
Oh, yeah.
Fredo's like, oh, I don't know Hyman Roth. Oh, I don't know Johnny Ola.
Mm.
And then they're at the club, which that's a whole other discussion. But they're at the club and he just says, he's like, oh yeah, Johnny Ola brought me here. And Michael, it's like Michael knew, but he didn't know until that.
You think he
And
knew?
I think he had suspicions, and that's what, because he's visiting all the people that he suspects.
Yeah.
And I think Fredo's part of that. And when they go to hang out, just the two of them, Fredo gets mad. He's like, why didn't we hang out like this before? And it's almost like Fredo's like, if we had done this, I wouldn't have betrayed you, you know?
Yeah.
And so Michael in that scene, Michael's in the background, Fredo's in the foreground, and they're talking and laughing about, the act that's going on. And Michael puts his head in his hands and just like crumbles. And I definitely didn't notice that the first time around. And that's close to the most emotion we ever see from him, apart from anger. And so it's like when he finally gets that confirmation, like, oh no, he knows Johnny Ola. He has been here before, and this is how it all happened. He just like falls apart. It's devastating. It's very upsetting. So yeah, Fredo. Sorry, Fredo.
Rest in peace.
I think Fredo's a more tragic character than Michael.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel way more for Fredo than I do for Michael.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we mentioned him a few times, but I want to ask you about Hyman Roth.
Ah, our Jew. Yes. Who's just,
as a Jewish person, how did you feel about?
Yeah, I mean, he's fine. Representing the people.
Yeah.
We meet him and he's sick. And this is like a running theme of like, when is he actually going to die, though? It seems like the man who's going to live forever. I didn't really think too much of him, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this back and forth deal of like, I don't want, people don't want them to work together, but he's going to work with Michael with Havana, and, and then he just wants to die a peaceful Jew.
Yep.
What do you think of Hyman Roth? I mean, the name, who wants to be named Hyman?
I know.
Is the nickname for Hyman
Jaime? I think I've heard Jaime, right?
Jaime?
Yeah, isn't that a nickname?
Jaime Roth? That's cute. I like Jaime better than Hyman.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think he's funny. He's an interesting guy. I can't get over the scene where he's not wearing a shirt.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it feels so weird and out of place, but also like, yeah, sometimes old men take their shirts off. I don't know.
Absolutely, especially in warm climates.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, take your shirt off.
Yeah, I mean, he's great, and he's the villain. He's the villain to our main characters in the movie, even though Michael is really the villain.
Michael's the villain, yeah.
Yeah, and like what never fails to confuse me in these movies is these old men who can't give it up. It's like Hyman Roth is dying. You're gonna kill Michael Corleone for what? You're dying soon. Like
it's like deep seated. I need to know I did this. Power.
Right.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. Yeah. And it's like, the last years of your life, you should be happy and peaceful and retired. And like you said, the power, like you can't let go of power.
You can't let go of it. You're coming
obsessed
with it.
We're in a presidential election year, and it's like everyone who's running for president, I'm like, are you going to live for 4 years?
It's awful. Yeah,
like this is what you're doing with the end of your life.
Right. I know. So true. It's so true when you think of it like that. Hyman, at the end, he really just wants to go to Israel to live as a Jew.
Yeah. Israel won't take him. Few places won't take him.
Yeah.
I love his whole press conference saying, because he's talking very differently how he's talked throughout the whole movie. You know, he's got his like media voice on. By the way, Hyman Roth, played by Lee Strasberg, very famous acting coach, acting teacher. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
They had wanted, I can't remember what director it was. Like it was maybe like Sidney Lumet, somebody. They wanted a director to play Hyman Roth. And when they went to meet with him, he wasn't wearing a shirt. And that's why they were like, oh, Hyman Roth should do this.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah. But when he's at the airport at the end and he's like, I am a retired, what does he say?
Something
I'm a
he,
retired pensioner,
yeah.
entrepreneur, investor on a fixed income or something like that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and then blammo, they get him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's good. He's sinister without like any mustache twirling.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think it's
He gives off to me no threat vibes.
right.
Like you're very powerful and scary, but like I'm not picking up on it.
Make sure everybody looks at the cake before we cut it.
Right. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
cake scene.
Yeah. Well, that was smart too because he's telling everybody, okay, when I go, this person gets this person gets this, as they're dividing up his cake and giving it and handing it to all of them.
We focused on one piece for a little longer. I was like, all right, we got some frosting.
All I could think was like, that cake probably sucks.
Oh yeah, in that
There's
heat.
no way that cake is good. I want to talk about Frankie Five Angels, but very quickly, I just want to bring up Senator Geary. Senator Geary, played by G.D. Spradlin, is very near and dear to my heart because he plays the father of Miss Sarah Davis in one of my favorite films, Clifford. And so watching that many, many, many years and then going into The Godfather 2, I was like, hey, that's Miss Sarah Davis's dad. And he acts exactly the same way.
Wow, haven't thought about that in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't obviously put that together. I think I blocked Clifford from my
Most
brain.
people have.
Yeah, it's almost been a year since I've watched that, and it is long gone.
So Frankie Five Fingers, Frankie Pentangeli, what do you think about it?
He's entertaining. I mean, I will say when we have him on trial and he goes against everything he did admit to.
Yeah.
The affidavit, and he's just like, smoking this guy. I was like, oh, okay. That was great. That was great. Yeah.
I think that's the funniest part in the movie.
He's like looking around, and then, they're going through their paperwork, and they're just like, I was like, this is funny. It's not, but I thought he was great. I mean, we meet him right in the beginning. He wants Michael to
step in. The Rosado brothers.
The Rosado brothers.
Yeah. But the Rosado brothers are in with Hyman Roth, and he doesn't want to interfere. And Frank is upset. And that's why in the beginning, when the assassination attempt happens, you don't know if it's the senator. You don't know if it's Frank. You don't know if it's somebody else, And we come to find out that Frank, he was mad, but he was loyal until he goes to meet with the Rosado brothers, and he thinks Michael has turned on him because they try to kill him, and they say Michael Corleone says hello, which I off camera I talked with you about that and that whole thing of how that's Danny Aiello, who we have seen previously on this podcast in Moonstruck, great film, which he is fantastic in, and Danny Aiello many, many years later admitted that that was an ad lib, and Coppola was like, yeah, let's keep that. But it throws the whole story into confusion because it's like, Michael didn't tell you to kill that guy. Anyway, so Frank survives, and now he's like, well, I'm going after the Corleones because they tried to kill me.
Right.
But if you're just watching the movie for the first time, it might be hard to kind of keep all of those things. Because we have the other witness, and the other witness is Will Cece, who is Frank's bodyguard,
Right.
who also is like in that assassination attempt and barely makes it out with his life. And
Right.
yeah, so that's why they
Right.
turn on Michael. And then Michael brings in his brother from Sicily and just shows up in court with him, which is like, would that be allowed? Like, how many people are allowed in this Senate hearing? You
I
know,
know this.
you can just
Yeah.
show up with a +1 day of.
Right. Yeah. That was. I didn't. Yeah. That I kind of just accepted it, and I was like, I don't really understand this, but
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it in the terms of he quickly went back. You know, your brother's safe. That whole thing.
Yeah.
Also, like Frank, he's in witness protection service. That's why.
Yeah.
That's how. Right. He's not really like he's not in
Yeah.
jail because he's got that nice bathtub.
It's
So
hard at the end.
it's
It's
witness
hard to
protection
say like what
service.
he's in. If it's witness protection, if it's just a nicer facility
It's
kind
like
of
a
thing.
clawfoot tub. What?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
In the beginning when we meet Frank and he arrives at the party, he's just like insulting the band.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of musicians? No Italians? No Italians.
Yeah.
And they start playing Pop Goes the Weasel.
30 musicians and nobody knows any Italian music.
So insulting.
And he's just like going to the piano player. He's like, like this. It's like, that's not how music works. I mean,
Yeah,
okay,
well.
sure, whatever.
That's how he hears it. You're just like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Frank.
Yeah, and I think that you're set up a little bit to be like, okay,
yeah,
this guy's a little off kilter, and perhaps he could have made the attempt on Michael's life,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the scene in the Senate when his brother shows up and he's just like, yeah, they said Michael Corleone did this stuff, and I said, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I thought that was great.
Very quick shout out to Harry Dean Stanton. Phenomenal actor, one of the best American actors who's ever lived. He plays one of the FBI guys who's waiting to play hearts with Frank when Frank commits suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really talk about him, but Robert Duvall is back as Tom Hagen. He doesn't have as many good scenes in this movie, which was a little disappointing because I love him so much in the first one.
I know you really love Tom. I remember that.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, but I don't know how much we needed to see of him. We would have had another hour of Tom holding down the fort.
Well, like I said, we can do 2 birds with 1 stone if we get more of Tom and Kay.
Yeah,
just
that's true.
Put them in there together.
That's true.
So after everything is said and done, we get one more flashback, but now it's not a flashback to young Vito, it's a flashback to young Michael. And the 2 timelines kind of meet a little bit in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about this, dinner scene?
I liked it. And this is one of the things I read that Marlon Brando was asked to come back for this flashback scene because it's Vito's birthday.
Yeah.
But there was disagreements with money with Paramount. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so I was curious. I knew that was like the one thing I knew going into this, which is real strange. I know nothing about this movie, but I knew this existed and Marlon Brando wasn't going to be in it. And so I'm like, are we going to have his voice off camera? Like how, like I was waiting for how we were going to do this. But it was fun to see Sonny.
Yes.
And it was fun to see Michael before it all happened.
Right.
And it's like, oh, right. Look at how you are. Look at your character. Look how animated you are. Look how you speak.
And we get Carlo.
Yeah.
Connie's first husband. And Sonny's just like forcing him on her. He's like, yeah, talk to Carlo. Stop it. Nah, yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Everyone looks younger. Tom looks exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They did nothing to even make him look a tinge younger. That's the only thing that kind of threw me off. But he's even dressed the same. I'm like, can we just make a little moisturizer? Let's make him a little glowy so we look a little bit younger.
Right.
But I
thought they did good with Pacino.
Like it. Yeah, they did.
Making him look younger.
They did. And because he acted like him, like a younger Michael before this happened when we first meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sad, and it's like it's an interesting like footnote to the whole thing. Is Michael saying like, I don't want this. I want things for
Mm-hmm.
myself. I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
part of any of this stuff. And Sonny saying, you're a fool. If you go off and fight for the country, you're a fool. And Michael's just like, I don't think so. And I actually went and signed up. And they all get up from the table and leave him there. And I don't know that I can express like what it feels like after watching the whole movie, just to see him again, like if my interpretation is correct and the whole movie is Michael kind of reflecting on his life, for him to go back to that moment and that memory after, Fredo dying, and essentially now it's him and Connie. It's Kay's not around anymore, you know.
No.
And
No.
so everybody there pretty much is gone. Everybody who's been there with him. Vito comes to the door. They all get up and they sing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow.
Mm-hmm.
And I had sent you the lyrics to the song that they sing to Michael. So they have a boys' choir come out
Yeah.
at the party, the big party at the beginning.
Yep.
And they sing this song called Mr. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to read all of the lyrics, but I just thought it was interesting to kind of bookend the movie with these two Dons being sung to, even though they're like horrible, terrible people. So the lyrics to Mr. Wonderful: why this feeling, why this glow? Why the thrill when you say hello? It's strange and tender magic you do. Mr. Wonderful, that's you. And then the end of the song says, one more thing, then I'm through. Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Wonderful, I love you. Very odd.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I have to say, when those lyrics came through, I was like, out of context to receive all that. I'm like, Seth, what's going on here?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I just sent you the
He just
song lyrics
sent,
to it.
like,
Yeah.
out of nowhere, I get this like lyrics coming. I was like, I'm like reading it. What is
The
Oh,
real magic of this show, no one else will ever know because it's in the text conversation as we're preparing for each episode.
that's 100% true. Yeah.
Unless you follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/moviefriendspod, because sometimes Michelle posts screenshots of our conversations in there.
It's
And
a
it's
good
funny.
time. I'm curious, Seth, from being in the Godfather world, are you just constantly singing like when I tell you this has taken over Aunt and I's life? We're a very big fan of the lip trumpet. Do you play the lip trumpet a lot?
Sure, yeah.
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 And so we'll do this call to each other if we're in other parts of the house. And now every time we feed the cats, that's what we do.
Got it.
So
Okay.
when we're going to be like out and about, I'm just going to be like, and then Aunt will do it back and it's our call.
Wow. The
So that's
Godfather has
fun.
become a big important part of your life.
Big important part. Yeah. Have you been singing it or no? This is just me?
Not really.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no. I mean the music is great. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's great, great soundtrack. No, it hasn't really stuck in my head too much.
Okay.
Godfather Part 2 was made for $13 million. Goes on to make 88 at the box office. And this was really surprising to me because when the first one came out, it was the highest grossing movie to that point. The second one, in terms of quality, it's not like there was a huge dive. It's not like they didn't get all the cast back, like it's just
Yeah.
very, very surprising how little. I mean, still 88 on 13 million.
Right.
By today's standards, that would be phenomenal. So
Right.
it's still huge. Godfather 1 was the biggest movie of that year when it came out. This one was only 7th at the box office.
7th? What was number
Yeah.
1? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know actually.
Oh.
Also, did you know that this is the 50th anniversary of this movie
Hey.
this year?
I,
Yeah.
I love when we land on things that are anniversary. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
every year technically is an anniversary, but when it's like a
Right.
big one.
Right. So this is the first sequel to win Best Picture. And I found an interview with one of the producers, Fred Roos, in an interview with Forbes magazine. He said, by the way, the part 2 in the title was controversial. The studio said you can't call it The Godfather Part 2. Nobody's ever done that. You have to think of another title. But Francis Ford Coppola stuck with that. Now we have hundreds of films that are Part 2 or Part 3 or whatever. And it made that okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I can't fact check Fred Roos on if this was actually the first ever Part 2.
I mean, I guess that means it does deserve to be like the best sequel of all time because it invented the part
it
2.
invented the Part 2.
Wow.
So this currently has a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes, Letterboxd 4.6, Metacritic 90%. This was inducted into the National Registry in 1993. No surprise. Ebert, on initial release, gave it 3 out of 4 stars. As the years would go on, he would write a new review and give it 4 out of 4 and include it in his list of great movies. And they shot from October 1st to June 19th. So long shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, we've got a lot of different locations, a lot of moving parts. I mean, all that
Yeah.
old New York stuff. That think about all the
Yeah.
production that, went into that.
Yeah.
So
I kept thinking
totally
about
believable.
that.
So we asked some friends on Twitter what they thought. Felicia at Cinemaroni, our favorite Italian? Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
She says, I'll take De Niro as Vito any day over Brando. And I don't know what she means by that.
I know what she means by that. Oh.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm feeling the way she's feeling,
Okay. Yeah, I don't
yum.
know. Felicia, could you let us know? Is this like a performance thing? Like, what's going on here?
Mm-mm.
Carlo at the Movie Loot.
The movie
He's the
loot?
host of he's the host of the movie podcast, The Movie Loot.
Hey, that's cute.
He says, amazing film full of amazing performances and moments. Arguably, my favorite scene of any film is here, Michael and Fredo's conversation. And I dedicated a whole episode of my podcast just to that scene.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a great scene.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you, Carlo. Actually, you just reminded me of something that I had said. The opening title card is over a chair. And when we have Michael and Fredo in that scene, Michael is sitting in this, straight back chair, and Fredo is sitting in this like recliner beanbag papasan something. And he's just the amount of movement that John Cazale is putting into like Fredo's hands and that, like, he's shaking, but he's not like trembling. Like, he's shaking with anger and just like all of this energy and like pent up stuff is coming out of him. It's so great. Anders Holmes at Fabricius91, and I hope I'm saying that correctly,
Yeah.
says The Godfather Part 2 is a compelling and fantastic film. It balances the two storylines nicely, with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro giving terrific and layered performances. John Cazale and Diane Keaton deserve mention as well, particularly Cazale. Gordon Willis's cinematography is on point.
Yeah. Agreed.
We get great dissolves in this one. The first one has some very famous dissolves. We get good ones because we're dissolving between Vito and Michael a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's like one is disappearing, the other one's coming forward. It's great. Jacob at Lots of Scotch.
Lots of scotch. Tape.
He says, The Godfather and Godfather 2 were integral movies in my relationship with my dad. We watched Godfather 2 whenever it popped up on cable. Being a Star Wars freak since Return of the Jedi, my dad once said that Godfather 2 was like if Darth Vader was the lead character in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I read that and I was like,
that's really good.
Wow. That's very good. Yeah, right.
Very good. Very good.
He goes on to say, my favorite exchange was when my dad said he never would have killed Fredo. Family is family. Just because they suck doesn't mean you kill them.
Well, we say that, but...
Yeah. Well, what would you say?
I mean, I wouldn't... Oh, man.
It's tough, right? If you're Michael?
I mean, we could not kill him and have him protected
Right.
and watched.
Right. Put him in prison, basically.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But he could turn. Fredo could turn. I mean, what would you do with your siblings? You have a ton. I only have one, so
yeah.
am I killing Sam today? I don't know.
I know. Well, and I think that it's, we start the movie off with such violence. Don Ciccio killing this woman, her children, because he says he's going to come back one day. He's going to get me.
Mm-hmm.
And so Michael has made the full horrible circle back to Don Ciccio, the dude who put his father on this path of like evil and bloodshed. Michael has now come full circle and he is now Don Ciccio. So I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I wouldn't do any of this. So it's hard to say.
Well, right. I mean, sure.
If I'm Michael, honestly, yeah, Fredo probably has to go.
Right.
Jamila at Jamila Brownie.
Been waiting for these thoughts, Jamila.
Jamila sent a lot of thoughts, and I had to kind of pick and choose.
Okay.
She says, I think this movie is so quotable and an amazing follow-up to the original. Like most sequels, it echoes the dramatic beats of its predecessor, but here, it takes it up to an 11. You see the full degradation of Michael take place and the degradation of the Corleone name.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good. It's
very good.
Well said. Well said.
Melissa at Melissa Dags says, John Cazale is astounding in this film. I would let him order me a Cuba Libre any day. Banana daiquiri?
Banana daiquiri.
That's me saying that.
Yeah.
How do you order a banana daiquiri? Banana daiquiri. That was funny. Pacino was funny in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
She says Bruno Kirby as young Clemenza and a riveting Robert De Niro, both fantastic. All that, plus the fight between Pacino and Keaton, this film is a wonder, and I haven't even gotten to Hyman Roth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hi, me.
So those are some people that we do know. Now we go to a segment of the show where we hear from people that we don't know. It's called Half Star, 3 Star, 5 Star. Half Star, 3 Star, 5 Star. All right, these are reviews from Letterboxd.com. We start with a half-star review, which is the lowest rating that you can give a film. And we go all the way up to a 5-star review, which is the highest rating that you can give a film. Okay, so the half-star review, do you have a request for this? I have an idea, but
I want you to do Frankie Pants.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Hey!
That's good.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
If you're listening...
How are you doing that? I can't.
It's right here. Yeah. If you're listening to this show for the first time, every episode I read the half-star review in an accent. So here we go. This is a half-star review read as Frankie Five Angels. I feel like this is going to sound real racist, but I feel like I need to have my hands free to like get into this character.
Why is that racist? I talk with my hands.
Well, yeah, but that's the stereotype. Italians talk with their hands.
I'm not Italian, and I'm all over the place. It's Long Island. It's New York. It's no, I can't do it.
The most supremely overrated sequel of all time, which amplifies the vast faults of its predecessor. Plot is non-existent. Story flow is horrifically muddled with its double narrative structure. The Vito plotline adds nothing to the film and bogs down an already overlong film, while the Michael plotline is profoundly dull and convoluted. Has some plot holes and contrivances. Fredo's turn is revealed early in the film, undercutting subsequent drama. Most sequences are already tediously drawn out, and Pacino's acting is often too dreary. Another foul, boring mess of a crime drama. Rating F.
Seth, I don't know if I've just been doing this too long with you, but like every week you're getting better and better.
Wow.
You like added to it. You're like, ugh, you like really went into character. This one might be one of my favorites.
Wow.
This
And
was
it's a character
so
nobody knows.
it was so good. It was
Michelle's
so
going to be at a party and be like,
good.
you got to hear Seth's
You gotta
Frankie
hear
Five
Seth do
Angels.
Freaky Five Angels.
Yeah.
Come on,
And I'll
Seth,
be like,
do it.
yeah.
Seth.
The Rosado brothers.
You just have to like whip it out and be like, who is he? Who is he doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if I talked about the Roman Empire a little bit?
Yeah, because that's what you all think about, right? Exactly.
Oh gosh, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Men think about the Roman Empire. Anyway, so that's the
Apparently.
5-star review.
That was great, but
Yeah.
also rating F.
Yeah.
Wow.
3-star review says, I wish I loved this, but I just don't. Interest is a huge part when watching a film. There were a lot of scenes where I drifted off because I just couldn't get into it. I do agree that this film is great on technical aspects, though, so I definitely respect it for that. Part 2 isn't nearly as good as Part 1, but I still liked it.
You know, I love my 3 stars because I align a lot with that crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. They had a lot of
I
valid
get it.
points there.
I get it,
Totally.
man. I get it. I think enough is enough of expecting everybody to get everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and that you can still respect something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just being like, hey, The Godfather 2. It's long. There's lots going on. If someone's like, oh, I was drifting in and out.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it, man.
5
5-star review says, Coppola pushes the boundaries of his now epic saga in a new delivery of exceptional storytelling and an enthralling and epic structure. De Niro's addition is a fantastic decision by the visionary Coppola. The 70s were the best time to tell such a magnificent story. A splendid cast still fills the screen. Nevertheless, it is its natural and unforced direction that makes The Godfather Part 2 one of the best American movies ever made. It is a mood that does not prevail in modern cinema anymore. So we have a segment of the show where we talk about what we would cut, what we would edit, and what we would keep. It's called What the Keck. Okay, so Michelle, is there anything from this movie that you would cut, edit, and what are you keeping?
Oh gosh, I don't know if there's any. Oh, okay. I think I'm gonna okay. Because I feel like every scene is important for the story.
Yeah.
But I think I would cut when Ginecco and Vito go to the show.
Okay, yeah.
Because what are we getting out of this? That Vito loves Carmela. She's beautiful, but I love my wife and my kid. And we do see Fanucci, right? But we can establish him in another way.
Yep, that's a great point.
It's not needed. It's not needed.
Yeah.
So I would cut that. I would edit down the walk and talk outside of the prison.
With Tom and Frank.
Yeah, it's just like, let's say a little words. Let's shuffle a little bit. Let's say a little words. Let's shuffle some more. I'm like, wait.
Is my brother okay? Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm keeping the K and Michael. And we can even make that a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like your cut better than mine.
What's your cut?
Because it's definitely easier to do. I like the Havana stuff. I like us seeing like added pressure to Michael and him entering into territory that's bigger than him, you know, and everything that comes along with that. The whole political revolution part, I think that we can do the New Year's Eve thing. Michael finds out that it was Fredo and they part ways without that whole like escaping Cuba thing. I get what it means for like the investments. I get all that. Like you said, everything in this is important. That it's just like, if we're looking at 3.5 hours, we want to cut something. I think that could definitely go and you save a lot of time.
Yeah.
For editing, probably some of the Senate stuff. It does feel like it kind of comes just out of nowhere after the intermission.
Because it
does. There's like no talk of it ahead of time.
Mm-mm.
Like, we get the senator, but that's for gambling stuff, like,
Yeah, I don't know, and I kept feeling like, was I supposed to know this was coming, happening all along?
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I would probably trim some of that stuff up a little bit.
yeah.
And then for keeping, I'm keeping all of the Michael and Fredo conversations. And yeah, I would probably like to build on that a little bit more. Like, have them talk more in Havana before everything hits the fan.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because once they talk after that, it's face to face. There is no more hidden stuff. They're both exposed to each other. So I would have liked to have seen more of Fredo feeling Michael out, knowing that he's betrayed him, and yeah, more Fredo.
Mm. More Fredo.
All right, so what do you think? What are you rating this movie? Do you recommend it?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm leaning towards film.
Okay,
I'm rating it 4 stars,
okay,
which I rated the first one 4 stars.
yeah,
I don't think this one is better or worse. I think it's exactly,
yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
yeah,
it feels exactly the same in terms
yeah.
of quality and story. I thought the first one was easier to follow. Aunt felt this one was easier to follow.
Okay,
I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. You definitely should continue the story.
yeah.
And is it the best sequel of all time? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen enough, I guess. I like when stories are all complete. So this is just part of it. Maybe I'll feel different once I see the third one.
This might have the benefit of being the first great, great sequel.
Right.
And so you have all these people who are like, wow, a sequel can be good.
Hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
thinking of great trilogies, I mean, clearly this is a better sequel than, Back to the Future and Shrek
Don't
2.
say it. Come on now. Frankie Pants.
But
No.
there are other great trilogies that exist out there. The Apu trilogy, um, the Human Condition trilogy. There, so it's hard to say. We're not big fans of saying best, here. So, but I think that legend kind of comes from it probably being one of the first, And
Right.
genuinely, like you said, I think this is just as good. I don't remember
Yeah.
what I rated the Godfather in the first episode. Probably 4.5.
I think no, you rated it 5 stars.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Michelle was right. I rated the first one 5 stars. And so I guess I'm gonna say that I don't think that this one is as good because I'm gonna give this 4.5 stars.
Still good though.
Incredible, amazing. It's an amazing movie, And like
Is
we've said
this
with some films recently, it's like, what difference does it make what I rate this movie? It is The Godfather Part 2, I
is it a movie, film, or schmovie?
think it's a film,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely. I
Yeah.
do recommend it. I did a thing on my Twitter today where I told people, I said, go to your Letterboxd, go to the most popular film list, and then sort it by movies you haven't seen. And the 2 movies that popped out to me the most were 10 Things I Hate About You, were on tons of people's lists, and The Godfather and Godfather Part 2.
And I've seen all 3. Wow.
Yeah. And I definitely recommend this. Like, I put this off for years. You put this off for years. And they're great. They're great movies, great characters, great themes. We're going biblical themes with this one. Cain and Abel, and, it's great.
Mhm.
It's great stuff.
Mhm. Very well done. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah.
This is not like we're doing real good for January. I have to
I
say.
I agree. It's a good
No
month.
regrets so far.
Hey, if you have no regrets, send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you like the show, make sure you subscribe, give us a rating, give us a review. Look, Michelle and I, we are review hungry. Okay?
Yeah.
We've gotten some great reviews, and then they dried up.
I know. Think about how sad it is. I want you to picture, if you haven't left us a review, picture my sad little face
Mm-hmm.
checking the reviews. I check every day.
Do
And the
you?
last one, I do, because I do. And the last one we have is from December.
Oh,
So please make me smile. Please make me
my
happy.
God.
And then I can send a screenshot to Seth and be like, Seth, look. It like really, it makes my day. Seth says he doesn't care, but I think he's full of shit.
Oh my gosh.
What? I'm calling you out.
Yeah.
I want to call you Frankie from now on.
Eh.
Eh.
You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our additional shows, episodes, our patron Discord, and while supplies last, a t-shirt. Isn't that nuts? Come on. What are you doing? You've
I
been
don't
thinking
even have
about
a
it for
t-shirt.
months.
It's so cool. It's a really
You
cool
know?
t-shirt.
Every time you hear this ad, you think, oh, I am going to do that. And then you forget. I get it. You got your grocery store. You got run into the post office. You know, going to the fish market, picking up the fresh clams from Sal. You got a lot going on in your life, okay? Kids' lunches, kids' dinners. And you forget. And so this time, you're not going to forget. You're going to go on, you're going to sign up. It's $5 a month. You support the show. Come on. What the heck? Okay. We are done with January. Sequels month is over. We look forward to next year where we're doing threequels month or trilogy month, whatever we're going to call it.
Threequels.
I guess we're announcing now that next year
next
you'll
January.
get Shrek 3,
That's
Back
right.
to the Future 3, Godfather 3. Who knows?
Yeah.
So for February, we are going to do a series focused on films made by Black directors. And I'm very excited. I'm really hoping one director who's one of my favorites, makes an appearance. We'll have to wait and see. I'm also excited because this is the first month that we are enacting our patron voted films, and next month's theme will be selected by our patrons.
You mean March?
Yeah, next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still in January when they hear this.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just verifying.
Yeah. We're starting off with a movie that I love, Moonlight from 2011, directed by Barry Jenkins. It's 111 minutes, and it's currently streaming on Max.
Cool. I remember.
I know,
hearing
111
about it.
minutes compared
Piece
to what
of
we
cake.
just did. That's
Piece of high me's cake. I know.
That's right. Little piece.
Little piece.
Yeah, little piece.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Seth.
We did it.
Yeah. We keep saying it. We did it.
We keep saying it, and we keep saying like, oh, and now we're really back. But doing The Godfather Part 2 feels like, okay, that is the semicolon of year 1 and year 2, you know?
I agree. I feel exactly the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for listening, as always. And until next week, when we're talking about Moonlight from 2011, thank you very much for listening. Have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Music by Anthony Vicora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks.